Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast where we get together and talk about video games and video game stuff. I'm Shanae Howard. With me, as always, is Tommy Shelby
Hello.
and Ryan Robinson.
Hi.
You're gonna take a drink as soon as I introduce you. You had like
You
time. You
knew
even
when it was
stopped.
coming.
You even stopped and
Yeah.
waited for me to say your name and then took a sip.
Yeah.
I'm an agent of chaos.
uh so guys, what video game news do you have in your life, or any games that y'all are excited about, or any like trailers you've seen that look really good?
Uh, did you guys watch the Street Fighter 6 showcase with Lil Wayne?
I did not. Did I miss out?
It was pretty good, I think. Like, they were showing mostly single player stuff, which I can't imagine I'm going to spend a lot of time with, but like, it was still cool. They announced the first year of DLC, showed a lot of single player stuff, and then like the demo went live. So I've been playing a bit of the demo, and like, it's the world tour mode, like just the first little section of the world tour mode, and then uh like one-on-one battles, but like no online for this demo, but you can play locally. But like the only problem is that like there's only two characters that you can play with, and as with most fighting game demos, there's like no training mode for you to fuck around in. But like whenever that happens with the fighting game demo, people just put it on two player, you know. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do feel like I was right. Like I do think it is much more Street Fighter 4 than anything else.
Hold it.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and like the single player, I think for a fighting game, single player mode is going to be pretty fun, you know. And then I've been playing some Scarlet Nexus, which I'd started a long while back and only played like an hour of back then. Now I've played maybe 2 or 3 hours of it. I'm having fun with it. I don't think it's amazing, but like it's fun. So we'll see how long I keep playing that.
Are you playing as boy or girl?
I'm playing as boy. Yeah, but
You would.
well, no, because I think like they want to do the whole near thing where it's like, okay, now play it again, you know?
Play it again,
Yeah.
Sam.
So I imagine if I do finish it, I will play through it again as the girl. But like, it's a fun game, but it almost feels like Devil May Cry Light. Like there's not as much for you to do with the combat, you know? Like, there's a lot of options, but like you can't really do anything super interesting with those options. And the story so far, at least, is kind of lame. But it's fun. It's still fun, just kind of mindless fun, you know? So, but that's all I've really been playing. More than last week, I guess.
Yeah. That's like 1,000% more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not even just what you've been playing, but like also anything you're excited about, which like you're getting to play the demo, and obviously, like you are excited about it.
Yeah. I am excited about it. Not as excited as Lil Wayne, you know? But I'm excited about it.
Was Lil Wayne very excited?
I mean, I've never seen him smile that much.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So he seemed excited for it.
How much Lil Wayne like interviews and content do you consume?
Not much. Why do you ask, Shanee?
Was he the best or worst part of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5?
Neither.
I see.
Neither.
Okay.
Yeah. The Ninja Turtles were the best part of that game.
Thank you.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm gonna hold off on talking about one of the games that I've been playing. But another game that I've been playing, I played the game Swords of Ditto.
Okay.
It's a game,
I played that.
It's a game that came out like a few years back that I had always kind of meant to try out, and then it got added to the PS Plus catalog, so I downloaded it and gave that a spin.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know much about The Legend of Zelda, but that's the close analog that I have
Yeah.
to this game. It feels like that game.
It's a lot like 2D Zelda.
Yeah. It's really cute and fun, and I've been playing a lot of really cute games lately. I don't know what it is. I think I gravitate toward those most often.
You just want a cutesy mode.
Yeah, it's a fun game though. Again, like Tom said, it feels like a 2D Zelda. It's also got local co-op. I haven't tried that, but I imagine that would be kind of neat.
It's the only way that game was fun for me.
Yeah,
I did not like it by myself.
All the little gadgets or whatever that are toys, and you basically find more toys to expand your options as far as like combat or exploration and everything. One of the toys that starts you off with is a foam dart gun that you can use to flip switches from a distance and whatnot. I also found a mood ring that actually shoots lasers, which is fun. And you can enhance your abilities and the abilities of your weapons by attaching stickers to both your body and your weapons. And you can get more stickers in a shop run by a frog. And the frog is also very cute. He's a cute little frog boy. And also I had played more Tales of Iron, which remains very engaging and fun. And again, it's more of that, like, the more I play of it, and the more I play like other Souls-like games, I'm realizing that I'm again solidifying my feeling that I like Souls-likes more than I like the Souls games, which I never expected, but here we are. Other than that, just more Destiny 2, and that's about it.
Yeah, Bert has been playing the PS5 a whole lot because he's been on the Elden Ring grind.
And is he the one that I see every time your username pops up?
Chairman Miyazaki, or yeah.
I didn't want to say it in public, so I stopped myself.
I also realized, I was like, oh, that's what he's doing after I had already said the word. But anyways,
don't worry, Ryan will clip this out.
No, he won't. It's fine.
Just because you said that, I'm going to. It's gonna be sloppy as fuck, but I'm gonna do it.
I played some of Hogwarts Legacy this past Friday, and I'm almost where I need to be for the Hufflepuff. And then I made Berto make his character, and then he chose to play the tutorial, like, little first island thing. And now that I'm almost like about to platinum it and going through this first couple hours for about to be the 4th time, I really do wish there was more to this game. They have like so much that they could add to it to flesh it out. It is kind of like baby's first RPG in a lot of ways.
Well, did you hear about the Quidditch thing?
Which Quidditch thing?
Basically, like, people were wondering why it wasn't in the game. It's because they're making a separate game for it.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I mean, like, so Quidditch is like really nonsensical, and like this used to speak to me a lot more. And now I have like a lot bigger respect, I guess, for athletics.
Sure.
But like, I mean, like, Quidditch is like, J.K. Rowling doesn't like sports, so she made Quidditch to be as stupid and nonsensical as she could be. Like, it doesn't. None of the rules make sense. So I've never had a urge to play Quidditch or give a shit about it.
It's just funny because you were talking about the game feeling shallow, and it's the one thing that people were really complaining about being left out of the game, and it's because they're making it its own game. That's the only reason I bring it up. I know nothing about it,
So, like, Quidditch rules don't make sense. It's a stupid game. But I mean, like, if they make their own version of it, I definitely won't be getting that.
I mean, that's how I feel about football, So.
Yeah, like, it's so like they're in Quidditch. It's kind of like soccer. There's like 3 chasers, which are like the one, but they're like kind of like centers and go back and forth anywhere in the field. Then there's a keeper who's like at the goals. There's 2 balls called bludgers, and they go around trying to hit people off their brooms. And so they have 2 guys on each team with bats. that like hit the ball away to try and like get it towards the enemy and whatever. And if you make the one ball through the hoop, it's only 10 points. But if you catch this golden little fucking thing called a snitch that you see like in media, it's 150 points.
Okay, but here's the thing, right?
And
You
it
said
ends the
like she
game.
made
And it
this
ends the
thing.
game.
You said she made this thing because like she's not into sports or whatever, right? She doesn't have to put sports in her wizard book, you know? Just don't put sports in there.
That sounded like the rules of a board game.
Yeah.
Like she like
You don't like sports, then don't put sports in there. Did the publisher go to her and say, "Hey, this needs more sports. Your wizard book needs more sports"?
So
the people reading these don't play sports.
Yeah.
I just think she just wanted to make him a Chad and like be good at sports and like and then when there is lulls in the story, like, hey, there's a Quidditch game, therefore there's stakes and there's reasons for these characters to interact and be all in one place.
Does Voldemort play Quidditch?
So Voldemort did not play Quidditch when he was when he did go to Hogwarts. He was like the top student, which is like called head boy. Make of that what you will.
Did he always look like a snake man? Like as a little boy, was he look like a snake man?
No. That's just because he had split his soul 7 times at that point. So because he had like so little of a soul, he didn't look human.
Like a snake.
But he started off like super handsome. Think like
this just in, Ryan is correct. Snakes do not look human.
Thank you. I always knew it. But
I'm glad you have this closure for this for this fact in your life.
Yeah, thank you.
Validation is what Tom's here for. But I just like. So I think I mentioned before, there's not really much to the spells, and I've seen this complaint a lot. And I do wish that you had a wider range of spells, or at least like a wider range of way they could interact with each other. But even like the leveling up tree is so bare. Like,
yeah,
there's only 2 like really big challenges and like that you can kind of use for like in game. And I don't know, it just like up to like the first like hour is kind of nothing, and then like the first third of the game has like a whole bunch of quests, and then I guess you're just supposed to like space them out yourself, but you don't know when you're playing a game how long it is.
Yeah.
So once I finished all those like collection ones like pretty early on in the game, yeah, there was still like some collectible stuff left, but it wasn't it wasn't paced very well, and like for the size of the map, they're just and like the way that you handle like growing things and even like the magical creatures, they're just a lot they could like flesh out with the same mechanics that already exist.
Let me ask you something, Shanee, and I don't want to shit on a game that I haven't played too much, but like, do you think that the game is as shallow as it is because it is made to appeal to the widest amount of people possible? You know, Harry Potter is a big IP. I would assume that they want to get as many people, gamers or casuals, as they possibly can, you know?
Well,
so if you make it too complex, too hard, people aren't going to play it. And the numbers already show that not a lot of people actually did finish it, you know?
Because, like, so, like, a lot of people obviously have played Skyrim. It has sold ridiculously well. That's why they've made a billion versions of it.
Sure.
Like, if you are just wanting people to come in for the IP, the mechanics and stuff are simple enough to where you wouldn't necessarily have to change those. You could just add more like content and quests and like interaction with NPCs, and it would make it feel less shallow. So you can still like add more RPG aspects to it, or at least add more content and more quests without alienating any of the casual fans who weren't going to finish it anyways.
Okay, well then I guess the second question is, if the argument is that they could add more and it wouldn't alienate more casual players, do you think that the decision to not add more was just to make this game as profitable as possible, as opposed to spending the time and money to make it a bit better?
I mean, maybe. I think probably just had to deal with the development timeline is what it seems like to me as far as like why on there, because there are some like clever things and some small additions in there that I feel like people who genuinely liked like the IP
Yeah.
wanted to like add to it, and like I have some like head theories about how a lot of these developers or at least artists feel about especially like the houses when it comes to like the common rooms and how things are designed, and
Yeah.
like I'm like I feel like there's definitely more like Hufflepuffs on this on this
Oh, I
art
see what you
development
mean.
team.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Like
I feel
that
like
got
there's
more love.
yeah, like that one just
Yeah.
feels like it feels more magical, and there's just like
Mm-hmm.
sections too, like of the castle. I'm like, oh, they really wanted to make this classroom
Right.
feel like this kind of classroom.
Right.
And there's
It's either they liked that part of it more, or by the time they got to the rest, they were running out of time and money.
yeah, because there's like just like a lot of care in like a lot of aspects of it, but then other ones like are very much like copy and paste or like kind of just like a little bit jank or awkward.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I feel like 100% like it just was like development pacing going on with it.
Sure.
Um but yeah, no, I also just been playing a little bit of Marvel Snap, a little bit of Outlanders still, and then I got Kindle Unlimited 30-day trial, so I've been reading all of the books.
Yeah.
Until
I
that
think doesn't that
before that
come
trial
with Prime
ends.
now? Am I wrong about that? Does Kindle Unlimited not just come with Prime? Because I read a lot of manga on there, and I don't pay anything extra. You know?
It might, but like Berto out of the two of us has Prime,
Yeah.
and my Kindle is attached to my Amazon account, which
Ah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
Prime. So it might, and I just don't know it because like I don't need Berto to know what books I'm reading.
Sure.
It's already embarrassing enough. Like I don't need him to know how embarrassing. I don't need him to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
look at
yeah.
those book descriptions.
Yeah, you know, all
Uh
that literal
I hear you.
you're reading.
just
Just smut.
all that fairy smut. I don't even know how many fairy smut books.
Sure.
I can let him imagine however much he wants.
Sure. That makes
But
sense.
as far as that goes, but you had a topic you wanted to talk about this week, Ryan.
Yes, I did. I was thinking about the games that we have waited for a long time to see a sequel to, and how we felt about those sequels after getting to play them after waiting a long time for them. Sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, maybe sometimes over 20 years for a sequel to a game that we enjoyed. And so I thought it would be fun for us to talk about some games about some sequels that we waited a really long time for, and whether or not those sequels lived up to our hopes or our expectations. And just kind of see where that goes.
Does it have to be like just like actual sequel, or it could be another one in the line?
I mean, look, Shanee, mine is not exactly a sequel. It's kind of a sequel, you know?
Honestly, here's my thinking. And like this wasn't originally where I was at.
I'm thinking like Assassin's Creed like games if you're excited for the next one.
Yeah,
like,
so I was thinking
Yeah, sure.
they're always like numbered.
Like as long as it's like in the like so the where I was initially thinking was just like direct sequels, right? But then I also was like, well, same franchise, and then even further I extrapolated further than that and was like, I think spiritual successors are also okay.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of the road I took.
Yeah.
And I almost thought about including like there's this developer I really love who does not do sequels, but like all of their projects, if you like one, chances are very good you're gonna like the next one. You know?
Yeah.
But
so like same franchise or same universe or whatever, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Whatever the follow up means to you, it's valid.
I'm gonna just get through this real fast. Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
I did not, as a kid, I did not feel like I waited a whole long time between 1 and 2.
You didn't.
But yeah.
Maybe
So
4 years.
but Kingdom Hearts 3, look, I still love it. I still think it's great, but I do feel the criticisms more and more the more I'm removed to it,
Mhm.
which like some of the levels feel pretty empty as far as what you're doing in it,
Mhm.
and the design could be a lot better. So especially after waiting for so long. So yeah, I mean,
It's
I would,
certainly easier to criticize, right? When it takes 10 years, you know.
yeah,
Like
but
if
also
it had come out like 3 years later, it probably would have not been criticized as much, you know.
no, 100%, and it's just some of the levels I already wasn't like too excited about. Like I don't really give a shit about Frozen. It's past. I don't have kids, and it's past my time to really like connect. And also, like just the oversaturation of Frozen kind of turns me off of it because I'm just all the kids fucking loved it.
Sure.
Um,
That damn song.
yeah, but yeah, like there's definitely some parts on there, but overall, I still would give it a good score. Like I'm just happy it came out. I'm not mad that it took 10 years. Like I'm just like it happened.
I
That's
got
which is more than you can say about a lot of other like franchises.
I got a question for you,
Yeah.
Sinead. Do you feel like the stuff that came out between 2 and 3 maybe helped a little bit? Like was that stuff like did it make the wait
Some of
for
it.
3 easier?
Some of it. Like it scratched that itch of like wanting to have like adventures in this universe.
Yeah.
See what those characters are up to and what they're doing and seeing just what creatively like they want to put out as canon for them. So like Kingdom Hearts Recoded, fucking stupid. Even if we got some like more info from it, it's I wouldn't say it's good. I did think Dreamed Out Distance was good. And I there it can be awkward with the way that you have to play it, but I liked it. 358 Days Over 2 was kind of boring because I don't really care about Organization 13 as much as other people. But it was nice to see like more personality and stuff from them. I'm trying to think what else came out that time. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like I mean, I think it helped for sure. I mean, but
Yeah.
it did at some points, especially the games that seemed like very obvious cash grabs, or just that they legally had to do something with that IP,
Mm.
like or whatever. Like some of those, it felt like a little bit insulting because it's like I don't want this. I want what happens next to Sora and everything. Like I want
Yeah.
the next like story on there. So it helped in some ways and not in others though.
Yeah. I can see that.
I'm trying to think. Are there as far as this goes?
I got a very similar one to Shanae's, except for it was definitely worth the wait. Was The Last Guardian, which is not like a direct sequel to Eco or Shadow of the Colossus, but
Right.
like they are in the same universe very clearly. And that development was about a decade.
Sure. Yeah.
I did not play Shadow of the Colossus on PlayStation 2 when it was like a new game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play it till much later. But like I still felt like I waited forever for that game. And I think it totally lived up to it. I know not a lot of people feel that way, even though like it's got the whole weird revisionist history thing. It's got the whole Skyward Sword thing, right? Like it came out and reviewed exceptionally well, but like now people talk about it like it was hot garbage, you know?
Yeah.
I still think that game's very, very well. I think it takes a certain kind of player to appreciate that game. But like I totally think it was worth the wait. And did it look like it could have ran on a PS3? Yeah, but I don't really care. It was originally developed for PS3. For the first many years of its development, was being developed for PS3. You know, so I feel like that's kind of to be expected. The sad thing about it is that like shortly after that launched, Ueda teased his next game, and like it will probably be about another decade before we play that. You know, yeah.
Uh, it wasn't 10 years, but between of the new God of War, the 1 and 2, because like when you in the first God of War game, like it gives you hints about like what's gonna happen next and who you're gonna see next as far as gods go.
I feel like that was pretty
Um,
quick. You don't think that was quick?
When did number 2 come out?
last year.
We didn't
When
say
did number
you
one come
you
out?
didn't say you had to be waiting like 5 to 10 years. You didn't give
All
a
right,
time
I'm
frame.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't say that. That's true.
You just said the one you were looking forward to. Like, and as soon as I was done with God of War 1, I was like, all right, let's play God of War 2. Is it
Yeah.
coming out next week? I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I got to at that point. I mean, I did the same thing with God of War 2, but I got to the point where I was done with the game because I can't get past any parts, and I'm not gonna sit there and just get mad. And I was like, all right, I want more of the stuff, but the stuff that I can actually beat.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it was a beautiful successor. Like, yeah, there's like small complaints I probably made and still can make, but it's still a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Like going from like actions into cutscenes the way that it does still feels like really satisfying, even thinking about it.
Yeah. I actually thought you were talking about God of War 2 on PS2. That's why I was like, I was a little confused. But yeah, I can see how, like, especially when it's a game that once you finish it, you're immediately ready for more in that world. And especially when you don't know, when like a sequel to that game hasn't even been announced yet, then you're just like, it could, that the wait for that next one can kind of feel like forever because you're really waiting for it.
Because it's not like Fire Emblem Three Houses where I can just like, all right, well, let's play the next house. I can replay this game and stuff like that, and it's not or like even Persona 5 gave me the same thing, and you had the same feeling too when we're done. We're like, all right, I want more of this. Thank you, thank you. I'm not
Yeah.
done being done. I'm not ready to be done. But like with God of War, like there's not like I just stopped because I couldn't beat anything. It's not really that good or that interesting for me to replay it. And maybe I'll get a little bit further, but to like do the entire game again to get a little bit further about parts that I'm starting to not enjoy because I'm stuck. That's just not worth it for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Sure.
not to scratch the itch of wanting to play it.
So I think the first one that I thought about with this is Red Dead Redemption 2. So I remember playing the first one and really feeling um really feeling like it was a pretty definitive end to that game, right? But then like I remember also like in the time as time went on, I wasn't really finding that a lot of Western games were coming out, and or I should say Western themed games were coming out, and I kept going back to Red Dead Redemption because that was like the last really great one that I played, and 9 years later, I got to play the sequel, and like I feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 was very much a in the same way, like I remember with like Tom said with Last Guardian, like there's a specific kind of person in mind with this game because I feel like it is a very specific kind of game. Because I think Rockstar has like, as time has gone on, Rockstar has really, really like steered very hard into the minutia of living in the worlds that they make, and for better or for worse. And I think that that's something that really kind of turned people off of that game. But for me, I felt like it made it feel like a fully realized world to me. And those like the characters were just like they were so much more I guess they were so much more fleshed out and human this time around, and it really felt like a real quality sequel. And by the time I had finished it, like I don't feel like a Rockstar game has ever made me feel any kind of emotion outside of uh outside of I guess
Arthur.
yeah. um I think that was a really good story. I think I would say it's honestly their best story. um and I think that like 9 years is a long time, but that game was definitely worth the wait. And like I've played through the game I think twice now. Um, just it just never gets old. I love that game.
Yeah, I've been thinking about giving it another shot. You got me that game at or near its release, and I couldn't get into it. I can appreciate like what they did is fucking amazing, you know. Yeah. But I should definitely give it another try. I think Ryan will definitely agree with me on this one. And I don't really know the length of time, but it felt like a long time. I mean, it's certainly an entire console generation between Doom 3 and Doom 2016.
It was just over 10 years, I think.
Yeah, and like 2016 to me, I like Eternal. I did not like it at first, but I've grown to appreciate it since. I still like 2016 significantly better.
Yeah.
And it felt, while very different from Doom, certainly from Doom 3, but even from the original Doom 1 and 2, it felt very different, but it still harkened back to that more than any modern shooters were doing at that time.
I felt like it had the same spirit, right?
Yeah. And like, I think companies like New Blood might not, I mean, they would exist, but like they would not be what they are without that game, you know? Yeah. Like the boomer shooter genre, the re-emergence of that style of game like owes a lot to Doom 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really say I'm excited for the next Doom unless they take it in a very, very different direction.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, 2016 was definitely it, man.
Yeah. Also runs well on literally everything.
Yeah, right. Even on Switch.
Yeah.
It's ugly, but it runs well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, best soundtrack that I never listened to. What about you, Shanee? Do you have another one?
Try to think. Because there's definitely been times, like multiple times, with like the Final Fantasy franchise.
Oh yeah.
That like I'm just like, all right, well, what's the next thing gonna be like?
Dude, people were waiting on 7 remake for fucking ever. You
long
know?
Time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they were waiting on that ever since that that tech demo that came out for the PS3, like back in like 06 or 07.
Yeah, I mean, it hadn't been announced, but yeah, people kind of assumed. Sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I'm trying to remember too, but I don't have like the memory that y'all do, or specifically like Ryan with your like dates and stuff. But I mean, I remember when Dissidia 1 came out on the PSP, like I really liked it and I really wanted another one of that. And I feel like Dissidia 2 took a long time to come out.
It took a little while, but certainly not as long as Dissidia 2 to Dissidia NT. You know, that was definitely much, much longer. But Final Fantasy, I think, regularly likes to make people wait, you know?
Yeah.
The fact that 16 is coming out so quickly, like, it's pretty surprising.
And then, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't ready for, I thought we were going to talk about a different topic. So I wasn't super prepared with ideas for this. And I was like, all right. Come on,
that's
brain.
Okay. I've got a
brain.
If you don't have a lot of them, that's not a big deal. Like,
hey, Street Fighter 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
when was what is the
Street Fighter 4 is 09.
Right, and so the last one was the last one before that Third Strike.
I mean, the 3 series and the Alpha series were kind of like mixed together as far as their releases go. I'm not sure if Third Strike was the last one before that or not, but like
it was a while.
The genre, at least in the States, outside of like a very small FGC, the genre was pretty much dead for the mainstream. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Like, not like the franchise was dead for the mainstream. The genre was pretty much dead.
Because like, what fighting games did you hear about between like during that time?
There were games coming out here and there, but like none that did exceptionally well or that many people cared about, you know?
Yeah.
And 4 just brought back the FGC in a huge way. It brought back fighting games in a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
and it
was great.
It just felt like a revelation, right? It felt
Yeah.
like it was like it was really breathing new life into not just Street Fighter, but like that was like realizing like what fighting games could be at that point, you know?
Mhm.
And like playing fighting games was just like so different for me at that point. I'm really glad.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, right? Like, we look at most of the modern FGC that we have now, and like, there's a reason that the term "09ers" gets thrown around. It's because people came to it from that game, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I got another one, and this is like me and 10 other people are included in the people who are waiting for this. But so Gungrave Gore, which came out last year. And I'm not I don't really.
And there was a VR one too.
See, that's the thing too, right? Is I don't
They
really.
did two of them.
Yeah, I don't really think like. So I'm counting the length of time between Gungrave Overdose on the PS2 and Gungrave Gore. I'm not even thinking about the VR one. But that was like, gosh, 15 years, like no longer than that. Like a long time, like 16 or 17
But I don't think
years.
people were waiting for it though, right? Like, I'm sure some people were waiting for it, but like it wasn't like it was announced that there was a new one.
I was waiting for
it. Know. I think most people assumed that there wouldn't be a new one coming.
That was the thing, dude, is that like, okay, so Gungrave Overdose was, you know, obviously the last game that I had played in the franchise, like almost 20 years ago. And I had like at least every few years I would watch the Gungrave anime either by myself or with other people, and every time I do it, I'm like, man, how cool would it be to get another Gungrave game? And so Gungrave Gore got announced. Was it last year or the year before? I don't remember. But I was so fucking hype. Like I was like, can you believe it? Another Gungrave game, and I bought that game the day it came out for 60 smackers. Okay.
Yeah.
How much I paid for
it? Was it worth it?
So. Listen.
That's not a question he needs to answer.
So listen.
I mean, it's a question you answered, Shanee.
The answer is no. If you have to do this many listens beforehand, if it is at least 5 listens,
but wait.
The answer is no.
Okay, so
listen.
First hour or so, I was like, hell yeah, dude. This game fucking rules. Gungrave is back. Everything after that 1 hour mark, I'm just like, man, how long is this game exactly?
Gungrave's back.
And it just as you play it, it just more shit kind of becomes apparent about how it just doesn't. Maybe it lives up to the lineage of Gungrave in a way that like my nostalgia it can't recognize, but it just doesn't feel like a modern video game in any sense. And that's kind of like, I feel like there is a way to take like in the way that Doom 2016 like took the formula and the spirit of Doom and made a modern video game out of it. Like I feel like Gungrave didn't like evolve.
I think it's harder for Gungrave, you know, because like old Doom still feels good to play today, you know?
Well, then like it's funny, I guess, because I think back to playing the first 2 Gungrave games, and that formula was identical in both. Well, that's not true. In the first Gungrave game, I can only play as Beyond the Grave. But in the second one, I could play as Beyond the Grave or 2 other guys if I wanted to.
Rise from your grave.
Yeah, rise.
Yeah.
A rise chicken.
Arise.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just this game, it just does not feel great. And after I finished it, like I was just like, I'm not going back to this game. I had just enough fun to see it through to the end and then never play it again.
Oh, so you finished it. That's good.
But
that's good at least.
The worst part, Tom.
The worst.
The worst part is they made this weird decision to make certain sound effects play through the controller speaker for some reason.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Like for some reason, whenever I break a box or I make something explode, it comes through the controller speaker. And also, whenever I died in the game, like, okay, it did that thing that happens in the Metal Gear games where every time you die, they yell "snake" a bunch.
Yeah.
Well, every time I died, there was one person yelling Graves' name, but it was the same line over and over again, and it was like piercing loud through that speaker, and it was just
playing fucking what do you call it, Scarlet Nexus this week.
Yeah.
When shit comes through that controller, it is so loud.
And like I just like, why is it so fucking loud?
There's like times like I'm trying to play a game on the PS5 and like and Berto's like asleep. And it's just like, and I have the volume of the TV real low, but this controller though, it is bumping, and I can hear it echo into the fucking hallway.
Well, and the problem with it is that like you can adjust the volume on there, right? But like, I guess the levels for different games are set differently, so like, it just doesn't work out for you. You know,
I actually found myself apologizing a couple times because like there was a section that I got stuck on where I was dying a bunch. And that same line kept playing like over and over again through my controller. I was like, I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry. I'm just really bad. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, it did get to the point. It did get to the point where like I went into the settings and I was like, turn off this controller speaker. Like that's it. No more of this because this is annoying.
But to speak to that more, Ren, like I do think like we said with Doom, right? Like old Doom is still fun to play. Old Street Fighter is still fun to play. Like I think a lot of those games that have like just a strong base, you know, it's hard to imagine them not continuing, right? It's hard to imagine like there not being a new Doom in a couple years,
and I guess
or a new Street Fighter, or whatever.
If I went back to those first two Gungrave games, I might not even have a good time. I don't know.
But, yeah, probably not. But you know, you liked them at the time.
Sure, and I guess I just thought that there would be more to it. But it just honestly feels like it just feels like a Gungrave with like PS3 level graphics, and that's about it. It's the same game.
15 of you wanted, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm glad that I did it though, because
so I just want to point out that I was right, and the answer was no. He did not enjoy it. It was not worth it.
It was. I mean, I guess not. No, I guess not.
Can we talk about like
games
we're currently waiting on?
Yeah.
We just can't answer. If it's
you can go ahead, Ren. I know for sure that there's a specific one that you want to talk about, which is why I assume you brought this topic up. I could definitely be wrong.
Now you've got my curiosity. What game am I in?
I'm assuming the game that you wanted to talk about was Dead Island 2.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Right, because I knew you bought it.
There was actually two on here that I really want to talk about. Dead Island 2 was definitely one of the two.
Yeah.
That
it's like 9 years, right? 3 developers, 9 years.
Yeah, and holy shit! So I remember we first heard about you and I first watched the Dead Island 2 trailer.
We first watched.
2015.
2014 PlayStation Experience in theaters.
Yeah, and like I was under the assumption, like most people at the time, I'm sure, that I would be playing that game within a year. Almost a decade later. I finally got to play it, and that game is fucking rad. That game rules so fucking much, and I love it.
Is there more ammo this time?
So yeah, actually. So
fuck yeah.
You don't get. So I think like with the original Dead Island, like guns are kind of something introduced at kind of the halfway point of the game. And they are balanced in such a way that they don't feel overpowered, so that you're neglecting like the melee focused combat in favor of guns. They're very situational, I think. Um, but man, that game is just an improvement over the first game in like every possible way. I think
It's not open world, right?
no, it's kind of like open zone, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of games doing that recently.
yeah, but it does a really
Yeah.
good job with like in those zones because a lot of the buildings that you run into, like you can actually like go inside those buildings and like
Right.
get stuff. So it's really cool. The areas are curated really well. Also, as an aside, I was in a house, and I saw a Time Splitters arcade cabinet. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Rad.
But it's really fun. It's a really cool game. Like the melee combat is like just really really satisfying. It has like a really good impact to it. The way that the zombies kind of come apart when you hit them, it's really awesome. But
And
yeah,
it's an interesting one because it's like just for a game to change hands that many times and like still come out halfway decent,
yeah,
is impressive, I think.
yeah. And I think that like the longer it took, and the more that happened, and like with all the delays and everything, I was starting to feel like I always knew I was going to buy the game. Like
Right.
that was never a question. But I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago about how I was going to kind of measure my expectations,
Yeah.
and just expect it to be fine, right? I was
Right,
expecting it to
right.
be fine, and I wasn't expecting anything amazing. But like this, it's honestly, it's like from a gameplay standpoint, it has surpassed all of my expectations.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, and you know what? I also think that like one of the things that hurt the first game is the contrast between the way that game was marketed and what that game actually was.
You mean
Uh,
the first trailer?
well, they're like not even just the first trailer, dude. Like every trailer for that game, up to like including the trailers for the DLC, it was just like such a stark contrast, and I feel like it was just so kind of like they were kind of going for it in a way, but at the same time they fumbled it, so it just didn't land. But
Yeah.
I feel like Dead Island 2 like really leans into the silliness and like whatever satire they're trying to pull off. I just think it works, you know.
Yeah, because like in the first Dead
Yeah.
Island, what I remember of like the articles and like trailers I saw is I was expecting it to be a lot more like Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
I mean, the
Yeah,
only
like,
arguments I remember is that original trailer was so dramatic. Like, people talked about that original trailer for a long time. What's funny is, like, both games, right?
Mhm.
The first Dead Island and the second Dead Island, people talked about their reveal trailers for
Yeah.
quite some time.
They're both great trailers.
But, like, that first Dead Island reveal trailer was, like, very serious and dramatic, and the game's not really that, you know?
But even more than that, though, I think that just the experience of playing the game is just so much better. And I remember one of the things that Shanee would talk about a lot in regards to Dead Island 1 is the defaulting to the head stomp for everything.
because it was the best move. There's no reason to do anything else.
But there are so many other cool moves now to do, and there are like so many
Nice.
other cool ways to like take zombies out. It's just like
I saw like a fire drop kick.
Yeah, there's stuff
Like
like
that's
that.
kind of cool.
Yeah, I have.
It's cool for there to be like, as we've had like lots of. Well, there's been no shortage of zombie games, you know.
Like ever.
But there's been kind of a shortage of like more recently of like dumb zombie games, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's what
like.
I think that's what
We haven't had Dead Rising in a bit, you know.
Yeah.
Haven't been no Stubbs the Zombie in a bit. Like it's all been more serious stuff in recent years.
Yeah, and I think that's where the burnout kind of
like
comes from.
silly, bigger stuff too, because there hasn't been like a Saints Row in a while. There's no like.
Well, there was just a Saints Row, but yeah.
Was there?
Yeah.
That's actually on. That's actually on
I
my.
didn't see any. I didn't see anybody talking about it.
That's on. Well, there's a
reason for that. Yeah.
That's actually one of the games on my list, and so since you brought it up, Shanee,
you're welcome for the segue.
Yeah, thank you. That's another thing I like. As an aside, I feel like segues lose their effectiveness when people point them out. But
I feel like they're more effective.
You think so?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I just feel like
because then it's very clear. You know?
Sure, because I would have known if you didn't point that out to me.
Right.
I just wanted to be clear that we are not talking about.
We're off of Dead Island too.
Yeah, we're off that.
We're on.
That's done. We're done with that. All right.
Right.
We're only talking about Saints Row now.
So, a lot of people, I remember when that first trailer the first like couple trailers for that new Saints Row came out, and there was a lot of criticism that I shouldn't say a lot. The criticism that I observed was squarely on the cast of the game looking too much like Zoomers, which, like, I don't know, like, who gives a shit? Like, it's a modern video game and it's about like young fucking kids doing crimes. Like, of course they're gonna look like that, right? That's the least of that game's problems. Well, at least it was. So that's another game that I waited for a long ass time.
Did you play Agents of Mayhem?
No, I remember I watched you play it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So all of my experience with Agents of Mayhem was at 10 minutes and like 2 trailers for that game.
I think I don't know. I think Agents of Mayhem hurt itself by being called Agents of Mayhem and not Future Saints Row. You know, because like it's in the same universe as Saints Row, by the same developers, and it did a lot of things, I think, to fix a lot of the problems with Saints Row 4.
Yeah.
But it didn't do well, so they did a hard pivot to whatever Saints Row is now, you know?
And holy shit, man. I think that at its core, conceptually speaking, I think that Saints Row, like the new Saints Row game, I think that it's a decent video game, right?
Yeah.
The problem is
its core.
Yes, Saints Core, I guess. The problem with that game is that when it came out, it was just so fucking buggy. It was just so hard to play that video game. That game would fight me every inch of the way.
Yeah.
But when it worked, it was a lot of fun, right? But there was too many instances where it didn't, you know.
Also, don't make me control the camera while I drive.
That's another thing too, man, is that like I think that like we should be at the point now where if you're going to allow me to shoot a gun while driving a car, make the car drive itself while I'm doing that or something. Give me like a lock on or something.
Yeah. I mean, like GTA gives you like some camera control, if I recall correctly. Even some of the older Saints Rows, maybe. Yeah, but like when you're just driving, lock to the car.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that game, you know, I think that it's like probably okay now. I don't know. I haven't really played it. Like I fought that game to give me the platinum. I was like,
I remember you talking about it.
I got the platinum for that game out of spite because I was like,
I will play that game. Yeah. You know, at some point when that game is free or dirt cheap, I'll play it. You know.
Yeah, that's another thing too, man. Is that like that was a $70 video game that I bought, and it just did not. It just performed so poorly, you know, and it was a bummer because I was like really looking forward to that game because I'm a huge Saints Row fan. I kind of bounced off Saints Row 4. And so I thought that like this was kind of going more back into the direction of Saints Row the Third, but it's just with the number of problems that game had like out the gate, it became like really difficult to enjoy my time with it, and it's a bummer because like when you wait that long for a game and a franchise that you really like, and it plays like that, it's really disheartening. And the publisher announced that like they're like, we got all these fixes. And we're gonna do this and this and this and this. I was like, well, dude, I'm already done with the game, man. Like, and
you lost your window. I am no longer interested.
Yeah, and you know, I want to like. I think that at some point though, because they have this whole roadmap for that game. I think at some point I probably will like check it out, just to see what they've changed. They said that they like updated the combat or something, whatever that means. So I might give it another shot, but as of right now, it's just like I am so exhausted by that game just because of how hard I had to fight. Like, look, there was a point where the challenges weren't tracking and I needed those challenges to get a trophy to get my platinum. So I had to actually start the game over and play through half of it again just to get that trophy. So I'm just exhausted by that game at this point, but it's probably better for someone else by now. You know, if someone going into
Yeah.
it fresh will probably have a better experience than I did, but like I just got burned out on it so fast. So
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's that's the risk you take sometimes, man. You just roll the dice and hope the game is good. But that trailer
Still
really
sorry
made
it happened.
that trailer really made me think that game was gonna be rad coming out the gate, though. They got me. The marketing always gets me. I'm a fucking stooge, but
I've been a fool.
one day I'll learn. One day I'll learn, but not today.
Yeah. Was there any other sequels that you wanted to bring up, Tommy?
I just want to talk about a game that I feel like I've been waiting on for fucking ever, and one that I don't think is actually coming. Like, I know it's coming, but like the one that I want is not coming, right? Like, so since the series inception, Nintendo has never made a new piece of hardware without it until the Switch. Where the fuck is Mario Kart? We're still playing the same Mario Kart from Wii U.
What's going on?
There's Switch will be the first Nintendo platform since the Super Nintendo, including handhelds,
Yep.
to not have its own Mario Kart.
Where's Mario Kart 9, you cowards?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, yes, 8 Deluxe is great, and they've added to it, but, like, that's a Wii U game.
Would you say that they've added enough to Mario Kart 8 to fill a whole other Mario Kart game?
It depends on how you look at it, right? They've added, like, 40-something tracks, but they're all old tracks.
I see. Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe. Sort of. Like, it's great. It is by far maybe the best Mario Kart that ever was.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's just not going to be a new Mario Kart for Switch at all.
The way
because like you have to assume that console's life is nearing its end.
Yeah.
So I assume on their next platform there will be a new Mario Kart, and it makes sense, right? This generation, Nintendo clearly tried to recoup a lot of their losses.
Yeah.
Putting out the same games that they put out the previous generation. But yeah, a new Mario Kart would be nice. And like, when was Mario Kart 8? Like, if Switch was 2017, right?
Yeah.
Then Mario Kart 8 was maybe a couple years before that. Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah. I just feel like once companies figured out that they could sell us the same thing repeatedly, it's kind of that becomes.
But it's like GBA, right? Like DS, even 3DS, like they all had their own Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 8 first released in 2014.
There you go. So 9 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't consider a deluxe version of that game to be a follow up.
Right.
No more than the Game of the Year edition of Skyrim is a new Elder Scrolls game, right?
Right. So I'm waiting on that.
Yeah. I have two more things I'd like to talk about. One is something that came out, and one is something that I hope will come out one day.
All right.
Streets of Rage 4. The gap between Streets of Rage 3 and 4 is it's most of my life. But it was 25 years between those two games. But Streets, and like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was actively waiting for Streets of Rage 4. But what I will say is that
we're not counting Fighting Force?
No.
Okay.
We're not counting Fighting Force. But although Fighting Force at the time, I can't speak to it now, but Fighting Force at the time was pretty dope.
Yeah.
But man, that is a long ass time. But even like, I've never seen, to my knowledge, I've never seen a game I've never seen a sequel take that long to materialize and still come out awesome. I think Streets of Rage 4 is fucking incredible. And it's a blast to play. They've iterated on it in a lot of really cool ways. And it is just, and like, also I can play as all my favorite Streets of Rage characters. It's awesome.
Oh, well, you can play as all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So ergo all of my favorites. Right? yeah, it's just a fantastic game. Streets of Rage 4 fucking rules.
Yeah, it does.
And like, there's
Maybe the best beat 'em up.
you know what? Yes. The only thing that I wish they had was I wish I could play with more than 2 people online. But other than that, awesome. Fantastic game. And the other game that I hope comes out one day will probably never come out, but maybe. I'm waiting for a Time Splitters 4.
Oh, that's totally happening.
I want a Time Splitters 4.
That's absolutely happening.
Time Splitters 3 Future Perfect came out in 2005.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I'm still waiting almost 20 years later. I need more Time Splitters. I need more Monkey with a Gun. I need more created levels. I just need more Time Splitters. Time Splitters is probably in my top.
The Time Splitters comeback, I could be wrong, but may have already been announced or leaked.
I remember seeing a lot of stuff over the years about like some leaked assets for what was supposed to be a new Time Splitters game. But I'm not sure like what the state of that is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Time Splitters is like one of my all-time favorite FPS franchises. It's just such an awesome franchise. Like playing those games, playing those levels, like after my friends like tried their hardest to make cool levels, and they were always ass, but it was still cool because my friends made the levels, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen at some point. And you know, it's good that Microsoft had the foresight to have a large amount of that team work so long on Xbox avatars.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that's really going to help.
That is the Time Splitters that we deserve. Is Xbox avatars, right?
Yeah.
The most important part of the Xbox experience is your avatar. But
I mean, people really did give a shit about those. Though I did just think of something I'm excited for, even though it hasn't been that long since the last one. Is
it God of War 3?
No, I was going to say Persona. Supposedly, somewhere this year, we're supposed to get more news about Persona 6.
I believe it.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, that's what they announced. They're going to make an announcement on this date.
Yeah. Long break between 4 and 5, but like, you know, 3 and 4 were close together. Yeah. 1 and 2 were pretty close together. I can imagine a 6 being not too far away.
Because I mean, 5 came out in 2016, so say if they announce it for like next year, that would be 8 years.
Yeah, it won't be next year.
No, but yeah, we talked about it earlier, and I was like, is there? Yeah, and then the game that everybody says they want another of is I would still like another Portal. Those puzzles were fun.
Not gonna happen.
I know it's not gonna ever happen, but it'd be really nice if it did.
There's a lot of like, so there was Portal Stories Mel, which was fan made, but Valve like adopted it as canon, right? And that was really good. It's kind of like a prequel. I think it takes place in like the 60s or 70s, but that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then there was Aperture Desk Job, which was very short, but still fun and free. But then like there was a pretty recent Portal game that Valve also like accepted and like put their seal of approval on, where it added like 2 more colored portals. I haven't played it. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. But like that's not that old. But like as far as like proper Portal 3, I don't think we're gonna get that ever.
And it won't ever happen. But it'd be nice if it did.
It's just like Half-Life, man, you know, or Left 4 Dead or Team Fortress. Like they don't do 3.
Yeah, I know, but it'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Was there anything else that y'all wanted to add though?
No, I mean the list for games that I want a follow-up to is endless, you know. So we're not going to do all that, but just make a real Mario Kart for Switch. Make a real one.
Yeah. Make another Chase HQ.
But what if it's such a good fan made one? the Nintendo adopts it.
Make another Chase HQ, or maybe give me a Pursuit Force.
The problem is that nobody makes kart racers as good as Mario Kart. You know,
That's true.
like I've played a lot of other kart racers, and like
Probably more than anybody I know.
there's some that come close, right? Like Sonic and Sega All Stars is fucking great, but like, yeah, Mario Kart, do it. Not for the phone again, you know? Don't do it for the phone again.
Yeah, Nintendo, stop making video games on the phone. Put them on a Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know? Tom liked that Super Mario Run game, though. He liked that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like obviously like based off like a Temple Run game, like which is like a phone game.
It's better than Temple Run.
Yeah, Temple Run is for...
And also, you didn't have to... Like, you just paid for it one time.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Temple Run wants you to pay a bunch of times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show today. You can find us on most podcast apps. We also are on the YouTube if you want to see our faces. We also have a Discord that will be linked. And bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.